looks good in blue. Hey, Jimmy G delivered for the Niners in crunch time. Did he silence all the doubters in the process? All of them, one of them being on our set. Carson Wentz and the Colts collapsed yesterday in Jacksonville, fully collapsed. What will it all mean for Wentz's future in Indy? Another doubter, same doubter. And what happened to the baby goat? Mac Jones' struggles continued in Miami yesterday. That is a trifecta for Nick Wright. Good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. And I told you so, Nick Wright.
Look at this guy.
A pensive Chris Broussard. And then we got Kevin Wilds. In Mac, do we still trust after what you saw yesterday? How can you even think over that?
Are we in the playoffs?
Heckling.
Are we in the playoffs just like the Chiefs? Is he the only rookie in the
There
playoffs?
you go, Wild.
Tell him, Jenna.
Tell him.
Thank you, Broussard.
There it is. You tell him. All right, we'll get to that. We got to start with a wild one, though. Out in Vegas, Raiders, Chargers. Here we go. Vegas driving in overtime. Now, at this point, both teams would get into the playoffs with a tie. Chargers head coach Brandon Staley calling an odd timeout before the third down play. You even hear Justin Herbert say, "I never wanted a tie so bad." Raiders, they're not playing for a tie. They were playing to win the game. Came out of the timeout trying to win the game. Josh Jacobs' 10-yard run to set up this. Vegas kicker Daniel Carlson nailing the 47-yarder. Thank you, Brandon Staley. Raiders in, Steelers in, Chargers are out. The final game of the regular season turned out to be the game of the year. Chris Broussard, I'm going to start with you. There's a lot here. Did Brandon Staley cost the Chargers a postseason berth?
Yeah, with that late timeout call, I'm going to say yes. All right, now, it's not a bass in my voice yes, Jenna. It's not a chest thumping yes, but it's a yes nonetheless. And I use those qualifiers because it's possible that Rich Bisaccia would have called for Daniel Carlson to go ahead and kick a 54, 55, 56-yard field goal anyway. And Carlson's a great kicker, so maybe he makes it. And it's a moot point. But my problem with Staley was this. I think when he called that timeout, and Derek Carr wasn't specific, but he admitted that changed our mindset. Okay, I think that Rich Bisaccia, the coach for the Raiders, had kind of accepted, okay, look, we're going to go ahead and we'll tie this game. We'll leave it as a tie. Because to attempt a 56-yarder, it's possible you can get it blocked, right? Or a 55-yarder, whatever it would have been. You could get it blocked and then obviously lose the game. Small chance of that, but a bigger chance than if you just run the ball and tie, then you go to the playoffs. And Bisaccia admitted, Wilds, on the sidelines, we as a coaching staff talked about it. We talked about going for the tie. I look at that like talking about retirement. You know what they say, once you start thinking about retirement and talking about it, you're retired. You won't have the same energy. You won't have the same adrenaline. You won't have the same gusto and resolve that you used to have. And I felt like that's where the Raiders were. It's like, all right, look, we tried to win. We didn't come out here and cheat the game, but it ends up in a tie. And then when Staley calls the timeout, Nick, I think Bisaccia was like, oh, it's like that? Well, this dude's still trying to win the game because remember they had another timeout left, Nick. So he's thinking, they're trying to stop us, somehow get the rock and kick and win the game themselves. So then Jacobs gets 10. Basically, this is the gist of my argument, Nick. I don't think that if he doesn't call that timeout, I don't think Jacobs runs for 10 yards on the next play. I think he gets a couple yards,
but you're not saying
3 yards.
Maybe. But the problem for the Chargers all year,
and I think they probably run it on fourth. I think they run it on fourth.
Well, they wouldn't have had to. The clock would have just expired. Listen,
here's
what I think is happening. I think the knives are out for Brandon Staley because he does things a little differently than the older generation would like. Folks wanted this to be a Staley game the moment he went for that 4th and short inside his own 20, down 3. That
Can
was,
you
oh
blame him?
my God, he thinks it's Madden. Forgetting yeah, I do blame him. Because while we're going to show you this,
Okay, fine.
what we're not
You
going to
blame
show
the
you
fans? Oh, stop
is
it, man.
okay, no, I'll tell you. Because
So
he
you
went
agree
for a
with that
4th
call?
and 2. What? Hold on. Yeah, I do, because it is I think that call's mathematically a coin flip. I don't think it's outrageous. But here's what I know.
It ain't
And
math,
then I'll get to the
it's
timeout.
football.
Okay, that's fine. But you also would have kicked a field goal on 4th and 2 from the other 19 that Staley went for and ended up scoring a touchdown. So by the Broussard or old school way,
No.
you would have saved 3 and then lost 4. You're -1. The Raiders didn't take the points early. Nobody cares. By the way, here's the other thing. You know what Staley's biggest mistake might have been? Doing something that if he would have done maybe the right thing, you would have crushed him for. You know what his biggest mistake might have been, Wilds? Not going for 2 at the end of regulation. Have the whole season come down to 1 play. He kicked the extra point the way you folks demand he do. Oh, give yourself and you lost. Oh, dude, how could you imagine if he'd have gone for 2 there? And when a tie gets you in the playoff? No, said he did the conservative thing. Now on the timeout, folks are just retconning this into what they want to believe. Yes, Derek Carr said it changed our mindset a little bit. He then immediately said, but we never wanted to tie. The whole time we were talking about going for a win. Talking to Aaron Rodgers about going for a win. That's first of all. Second of all, they weren't in kneel down formation. They were about to run the ball. And Staley knows the Chargers' run defense is awful. And we can show you what Josh Jacobs did in the 4th quarter. Josh Jacobs had more yards in the 4th quarter in overtime than he had in any game this year except for 1. He was running all over him. He averaged 52 yards a game this year. He had 92 in the 4th in overtime, 132 for the game. They were going to run the ball. He wanted to stop them from doing exactly what they did. Run the ball and get in field goal range. And here's the last point, and this is what I blame Collinsworth for, and I really like Chris Collinsworth. Whilst he kept acting like a tie and a win were the exact same for the Raiders, they were not. A tie meant they go to Kansas City. They have lost to the Chiefs 89-23 this year. A win meant they go to Cincinnati, where they're 6-point underdogs. Oh, you don't, Wilds, wait, you said they weren't thinking about that. So they didn't know. The coaching staff did not know who they play with a tie or with a win. If not,
I don't
then they're
think they
idiots.
were thinking about the
idiots.
Chiefs in overtime. I don't think they're like, oh, the Chiefs.
Hold on.
Oh, let's. I got to think about the Chargers
win?
and the Chiefs at the same time.
Then why'd they want to win?
Well, they want to win because
If they didn't care.
They want
They
to win
wanted
because
to
they want to
win
win.
because you play to win the game.
But it also,
Thank you,
hold on. Do you
Here's the
not?
thing.
It's not about the Chiefs. It's not about me being a Chiefs fan. Hold on, just real quick here. They're 6-point underdogs against the Bengals. Do you think they would be 6-point underdogs in Kansas City, or do you think the Raiders this morning have a better chance to win a playoff game going to Cincinnati than going to Kansas City? Because to me, that's inarguable. It would be insane to say they don't have a better chance. So winning was slightly better than tying. And so folks don't like Staley, so they're coming. The Raiders were not in kneel down formation, Wilds.
Okay. I'm going to dig in on the Staley part. And Nick, you have to live in the Staley camp. And Broussard and I can live in the traditional old school football. We don't know what we're talking about football. Here's why the knives were out. It wasn't just from this game. I think the knives really came out for Staley in that Chiefs game, where here's the quote: "The real football understand that what I'm doing is playing to the strengths of our football team." The real football people. And everyone who said, seems like you're going for it on 4th down a lot. Seems like you're just making some weird decisions. We were all called Neanderthals, and we don't know what we're talking about. But lo and behold, Brandon Staley is sitting at home. So that's why I think the knives are extra sharp for him, Broussard.
Go ahead, look, Nick, to compare going for it on 4th and 2 from your own 18 to going for it in the opponent's territory, That's ridiculous. I didn't have a problem with him
But
going
you
for
would've
it
kicked
when
the
they
field
ended up getting
goal.
the touchdown.
But you've told me all year take
Kick
the
the-
points. And that would have cost them 4.
No, there
that
are
would've cost
times.
them 4.
It depends
You
on the
can't
flow
pick
of
and
the
choose.
game. Nick, here's the thing. It's not a
It
black
depends
and
on the
white
result.
thing. Sometimes you play the feel of the game. You know what is black and white? That you don't go for it on 4th down at your own 18-yard line. I don't care
The
how.
Cardinals
Look,
did it
there's
earlier
always
in the
a
day,
chance
and nobody
that-
said a mumbling word because they got it. They went for a 4th and
They
1 from their
lost
own
too.
19,
They
and nobody
lost too.
cared.
There's a chance, Nick, that you always can succeed. There's a chance that you always succeed. If Floyd Mayweather goes into the boxing ring, he could always say, you know what, if I just bum rush this dude and attack him, there's a chance I'm going to catch him and knock him out. But he's smart. He's strategic. He doesn't do that. Even though there's always a possibility he'll land a right hand. No. And that's what Staley and people of your ilk need to learn. It's not always the wild, wild west.
Ilk.
Punt! My gosh. I can't believe
All
you
right,
defeated
we got a long morning to talk about
Stop
this.
playing
Again,
Madden.
it'll be Raiders and
want
Bengals now
punts?
Saturday afternoon.
I've got
I don't
a
know if
guy
that was
for
a
you.
calculated decision. AFC wildcard.
Hire this idiot.
Hey, onto a team that was not trying to make the playoffs yesterday. How hot is Joe Judge's seat? Well, you can tell by the fans. After that bizarre call on 3rd and 9. Let's get into it. What's with the Diet Pepsi can? Time to run the no huddle here. First things first, start with Jags Colts, where it was a win and you're in for Indy. A no-brainer, a no-doubter against a no way they're going to win Jacksonville Jaguars team. Oh, but they did. Jags were all over Carson Wentz. Sacked him 6 times, forced him into 2 turnovers, spent the day proving Nick Wright right. Jags in control from start to finish. 26-11 was your final. Nick Wright, how surprised were you by this?
Oh, Jenna, how can you be surprised at Carson Wentz having literally the worst game of his career in literally the biggest spot of his career? To steal a phrase and twist a phrase from the late, great John Madden, remember his all-time quote, I know a fumble's a fumble, and that's a fumble. I know bad quarterbacks. That's a bad quarterback, and that's a bad quarterback. Oh, guys, hey, I'm just curious. Are the Colts the most dangerous team that's already preparing for the draft? Should the Colts be sending trimmers through the spines of all the other teams that couldn't make the expanded postseason? Chris Broussard, I don't mean to be hyperbolic, but I went into the lab yesterday afternoon, and the lab, I mean Football Reference, and I can't find a bigger one. I think this is the biggest gag job in the final week of a regular season ever. Your 16-point favorites against the team that is scheduled to have the #1 pick of the draft, and you don't lose close, Broussard.
Still do.
You're down wire to wire, annihilated. I don't know what you do if you're Indy. I don't know how you can look your fans in the eye and bring this guy back. Carson Wentz is who is who I thought he was. Terrible. Can't win with him. Can win without him. Can't win with him. So that's my takeaway, Broussard.
All
what
right.
a disaster.
Look, Nick, I just took you to the woodshed on Brandon Staley, but I'm going to give you some props on this one. I'm with you on Carson Wentz. I'm not as far down on him as you are, but this was just unforgivable. I'm sorry. I mean, there is no excuse for losing to the Jaguars, and he just didn't show up. We know he didn't throw for 200 yards again. Hadn't thrown for 200 yards,
way better
but
if he
twice
didn't
in the
show up.
last 8 weeks. Okay? He had the 2 turnovers, the interception we keep showing, and the fumble. He just didn't get it done. And I think here's what has to happen, Nick. Because we've seen this now for 6 years. This is not Baker Mayfield where he was injured and he's only played 4 years. We've seen 6 years of this now with Carson Wentz. Different teams now. Good coach with Frank Reich. I think Frank Reich is a good coach. I think they need to try to move on. I'm not saying it all costs
Yes.
is dumping, but Nick, his last two, they got 3 years left on his deal. The last two are not guaranteed. They could pay him $15 million next year and be done with it. I would rather have, now you obviously have the big guys, the Deshaun Watson, Rodgers, Wilson. You're probably not getting them. I'd rather have Kirk Cousins. I would gladly take Kirk Cousins over Carson Wentz. So I think they need to start working on that, something like that, and try to move on. I take Jimmy G if he could stay healthy, but he can't. So I'm looking at Cousins.
Carson Wentz with a
if
better
I'm the
haircut.
Colts. That's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, let's keep Jimmy G in the magic of the Bay Area. I like that we want to move Kirk Cousins. We got Kirk Cousins going to Cleveland. We got Kirk Cousins going to Indy. Look, Carson Wentz didn't play great. I'm not going to say he played great. I'm not saying the Colts should move on either. He did get sacked 6 times. Was that because the ball wasn't coming out fast enough? No, that line was collapsing on him, Nick. And I would give a little bit of credit. I'm going to plant a seed of a take. What do you think about this one, Nicholas? The Jacksonville Jaguars. 2 years, going to be the new Bengals. Like it. Number 1 pick. Showed a little bit of fire, just like we saw them play against the Bills play well. But I'm giving more credit to Jacksonville than anyone else.
Oh, stop it.
Well,
He
showed some life.
Stop it. Jacksonville's not good.
Carson Wentz got sacked 6
terrible.
times. He got sacked 6 times.
Jacksonville got beat by 40 last week. I forget who beat them, but I know the team who beat them last week stinks. And they got beat by 40. Oh, it was your Patriots. Yeah. Okay, listen, folks, this is... I'm going to try to be calm here. This idea of I'm not going to say Carson Wentz was good. Of course I'm not going to say he was good. I'm not a QBR guy, but his QBR was 4. That's on a scale of 0 to 100. And Jenna Wolfe, I demand accountability from my fellow media members that tried to act like, and I'm not talking about the folks on this show, that tried to act like they were watching football on some higher level. You gotta grind the tape, guys, and see that Wentz is a different player. You gotta really understand the trenches to understand why the Colts can make the Super Bowl. Shut up. You can watch Carson Wentz for any half of his career of any season except for the one fluke year, and no, you can't win with that guy. I want written apologies or resignations from folks that were like, no, the Colts and Carson Wentz, they're dangerous. No, they're not. They're not.
I will vouch for you, good sir. I've been with Nick for 5 years. He has been anti-Carson Wentz from the beginning. We got to move on. Washington versus the Giants yesterday. Interesting strategy from Big Blue. Joe Judge going for it with the QB sneak on 3rd and 9 from their own 4, as in 9 yards needed for that first down. If Judge was looking for job security, I'm not sure that was the right move. Judge said after the game, hey, we were backed up. I wanted to get room for the punter. It's one way to look at it. The fans were quite pleased with the move, though. Jay Glazer had this afterwards. I believe Giants brass is torn on what to do with Joe Judge because of revolving door of coaches they've had in recent years. They have hesitation to move on because they'd add to that revolving door. At the same time, I've heard a ton of frustration inside that locker room. Not a little, a lot. Wilds, you have been our Joe Judge guy more for entertainment than for actual talent. What did you make of this play call?
Oh, it's a rough one in the land of Joe Judge, Jenna. I feel like the 12 emails that he gets every day. 6 good, 6 not so good. Today might be the day we get a 7 to 5 split on the not good to good emails. Here's the problem, Nicholas. Still no golf clubs there. You ain't seeing that stuff anymore. There's no golf club. You don't see any drivers around there. No putters in the locker. But unfortunately, that only goes so far.
No fighting on the sideline.
Here's the biggest problem with my guy Joe Judge. And I wanted all expatriate coaches to play well. I like the fact that guys running laps. I like that he was slipping and sliding into the mud. I like that he taped tennis balls to the offensive lineman's hands so they wouldn't hold. But this might be the end of a beautiful tenure because we'll go back to his opening press conference. Here's what he said. And this is courtesy of Warren Sharp put these together, so shout out to Warren Sharp. We're going to put a product on the field that the people of this city and region are going to be proud of. People showed up with bags on their head. Well, multiple people had bags on their head. And then finally, Nick, will play every play like it has a history and life of its own with a relentless competitive attitude. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. You're doing quarterback sneaks, and you're afraid to throw the ball. So I think, due to his own high standards, Nick,
that guy is
probably
so
the end of the Joe
fired
Judge
up.
era.
All right, I'm going to be, I guess, a little more extreme than that. Broussard, Broussard is, even though he's wrong often, he is the wise elder statesman on the show, and I do respect him greatly. If there is a third option here, Broussard, please tell me. Because when you sneak on 2nd and 11, and then you sneak on 3rd and 9, and your team, you're under as much scrutiny as you've been under, your team is failing as much as it has, to me, there are only two options. Option one is you are the least competent head coach in modern NFL history. Option two is you want to be fired. Unless there's a third option, the Mara family has no choice. Either we have the worst coach ever, or a coach who is trying to get us to fire him. Either way, you show him the door. Broussard, is there a third option I'm not considering?
No, there is. I mean, I guess the third option would be that he's a horrible coach, but not the absolute worst in modern NFL history. That's the third option, which I'll go with that one. All right. Nick, you are right in that this is an indictment on Joe Judge. And I don't mean because he called those plays. I mean because after 2 seasons, in week 18, you haven't coached your players well enough for them to believe that they can run a basic play on the goal line. Your goal line, obviously, but you really don't believe. This is an indictment of you. You haven't taught them a thing. That you don't think they can run a play out of their own end zone. It happens every week in the NFL, so it's an indictment on him. Look,
exactly.
There's no defending him. And here's the other thing, guys. What did you have to lose? I mean, I don't want to defend those play calls in any regard, in any way, shape, or form. But at least, the playoffs weren't on the line. This is when you play footloose and fancy free. You work on your weaknesses, things you need to improve on.
See what you got.
You don't worry about the results because it didn't matter. And you're doing this? Come on. Yeah. I mean, my goodness.
Unless you're trying to get fired.
He might as well have punted Nick on 3rd down. He should have just punted.
At least we're all on the same page.
I mean, really.
I like it.
Quick kick.
Giants have some big decisions to make.
Unbelievable.
See what they end up doing. Hey, can we switch gears? Oh, did you see that? Oh, that block by Ja was something else. But was it the most wonderful play of the weekend? Wilds will tell us next. First things first, I can't see this enough. Niners-Rams in a doozy last night. Niners down 17-3 at the half. Claw their way back into the game. Jimmy Garoppolo doing most of the clawing. Big second half for the embattled quarterback. Couple of big plays. That's a big play. And it set up this. 26 seconds left. Jimmy G to Juwan Jennings. That's a touchdown. Niners went on to kick a field goal to win it in overtime. As San Francisco locks up the 6th seed, they are on to the wild card round, thanks in part to Jimmy G yesterday. Chris Broussard, did Garoppolo silence the doubters with his performance?
Let me start like this, Jenna. Here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying Jimmy G is an elite quarterback. I'm not saying that the 49ers should go away from their plan to start Trey Lance next season. All right? I'm fine with all that. But what I am saying is this. Nick, I told you so. I told you that Jimmy G was the man for this job. All right. I'm taking a victory lap. I'm high stepping and everything.
Did you watch the game?
Jimmy G. And yeah, I watched the game. And like I said, he's not elite. So he had his struggles. It happens to the ones that aren't Brady, Rodgers, and guys like that. All right. But when it counted, when it mattered, and I told you this a month ago when he did it against Cincinnati, Jimmy G is a winner, Nick. I keep saying it. I'm going to keep saying it until you understand it. Look at what he did on these last 2 drives. 8 for 10.
My God.
Game on the line. Season on the line. 133 yards, a touchdown. And look at that passer rating. The dude was nearly perfect when the game was on the line. And Nick, I say this every week, but I'm going to say it again because you don't understand it. The 49ers in their 5 years with Jimmy G are 31-14 when he plays.
This game proves my point.
They're 8-28 when he doesn't play. He is a winner, and they should have won that Super Bowl if the defense doesn't give up 3 touchdowns in the last 7 minutes.
Here we go.
Oh, my God.
I'm just throwing that in there.
I love it.
America.
I was glad. I wanted the Chiefs.
Now, I do think you watched this game. This was the big Fox nationally televised game. You had Buck and Aikman. But if you didn't watch the game, let me give a quick analogy for what Broussard is doing. Broussard is complimenting the arsonist for putting out the fire. The reason they needed those last second drives was because Jimmy G was an abomination. The prettiest pass thrown by a 49ers player for the first 3.5 quarters was thrown by Deebo Samuel. Oh, there's a good Jimmy G play. This guy, guys, he threw a red zone pick as well. He fumbled the ball. Watch this pick. Again, this is the late 4th quarter in the score. He throws in triple coverage. They're in the red zone. Guys, so here's the thing, Wilds. Because I would still go to Trey Lance. I am more convinced to go to Trey Lance.
What?
And
gosh.
I might be able to convince Kevin Wilds.
Stop it. Stop it.
Wilds, just real quick. I know you don't like answering. Hold on. I know you don't like answering questions that I ask on the air. I'm going to do an experiment here. Okay? All right, let me put my hands down. All right. This is my right hand. I know it's weird on TV. This is my right hand. This is my left hand. Okay? I swear on my life, I will give you all the money in one of my hands. Which hand do you choose? My right or my left? Which one are you choosing?
I want to play.
I'm going to fall for it again, just for the sake of television. I'll take the hand that I can't see. I'll take the one that your fist.
Exactly right.
Hand with the fist.
Exactly. Now, guess what? This hand likely has nothing in it. It actually does have nothing in it. That's Trey Lance. It probably isn't going to get you to the Super Bowl, but you don't know it. This is Jimmy Garoppolo. You know it's not going to get you to the Super Bowl this year. You can see it. You can see it. And if you watch Wilds, did you watch that game?
He got you there once before.
Yes.
Wilds, that game, that is, we don't have a time machine in either hand, for the record. Wilds, that game was proof positive why quarterback wins are nonsense. Deebo Samuel was unbelievable. The defense made great plays. They won despite Jimmy Garoppolo's egregious play for 3.5 quarters. They were only in that position because he was so bad. You have to see that.
Okay. Jimmy G has already taken the 49ers to a Super Bowl. Of course he can do it again. And yes, of course I watch the game, especially when I have that 2-screen experience, because someone on the show, rather than just putting their opinions out on social media, starts to tag Broussard and Wilds. The 49ers decided to go back to Jimmy G in a must-win game. CC Chris Broussard and Kevin Wilds. Now you want to go back to Trey Lance? What can Jimmy G do other than engineer what Bill Barnwell, I think, called a legacy-defining drive? And gosh, he won the game. He won the game. You're living in some crazy world where Brandon Staley can get credit for losing the game, and Jimmy G deserves no credit for winning a game.
Thank you.
So me and Broussard are simple guys. We just like winning football games. That's it. It's pretty basic. But if you want to go back, are you serious about going back to Trey Lance? Or are you just saying that for sort of television?
Yes.
Fireworks. Oh.
Jimmy G was terrible.
Can't be, Nick.
Okay.
Here's the thing,
Why?
Nick.
You guys only care about wins. Trey Lance won his last start.
Look, he struggled early. There is no doubt about it. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, man, Nick's going to have a field day tomorrow. But he rallied them. See, you said they won despite him. It's not like they won, like he had nothing to do with it. Like all he did was hand the ball off and Deebo made magic. He actually made the throws. He made the game-tying touchdown pass. That's the thing. He engineered those drives with his arm. And that's the thing. And look, I'm going to take the words of two Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Since you won't believe me and Kevin Wildes, we're just old school guys that never played in NFL, college, anything like that. How about Troy Aikman? That good enough for you? Because Troy Aikman said this. What a job by Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, just some big-time throws. Who better than Troy Aikman? Oh, how about Terry Bradshaw? One of the most clutch quarterbacks we ever saw in the Super Bowl. You got any questions, Nick Wright? Anybody about Jimmy G and his heart, determination, poise under fire, comeback ability, great throws, clutch throws? I'm telling you, they were all answered today.
Right there.
Nick, get off that train. Get off that train. Come aboard. Yeah. Come aboard. Our train.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing.
You got time.
I am not a big fan of the appeal to authority fallacy. But if we are going to do that and appeal to the authority of Troy Aikman in this conversation, I will go down that road. I don't have a full screen ready for you, but I have a different Troy Aikman quote. I have two of them, actually. They're just the guttural sounds he made watching those first two Jimmy G picks. The first one was, and the second one was, oh my God. That's it. That's what those were, that, I don't know how we would spell that on a chyron, but that's what it was. Guys, the house was on fire because of him. You don't get credit that you helped put it out. And if you watched that game and did not realize, this is why Nick hates the quarterback win stat. Because that was a Deebo Samuel win. That was a Kyle Shanahan win. That was a Niners defense win. That was a Sean McVay loss. That was a Matt Stafford gag. All those things. And yes, Jimmy G absolutely played well on the final drive. My argument is not that he has no ability to play well, but so does the quarterback that went to the Super Bowl right before Jimmy G. Every once in a while, he plays well. His name's Jared Goff. I bench him too for Trey Lance. And your guys' argument would be, how could you do that? How can you trade Goff for Stafford, who's never won a playoff game, when Goff has taken you to a Super Bowl? Where's that argument? Yeah, there you go. Goff got a win over the Packers. Beat Aaron Rodgers, technically. You guys are nuts.
We can't quite get on the same page with Jimmy G. Can we get on the same page with Mac Jones?
Unbelievable.
He called his game against the Dolphins super embarrassing. Are things about to get worse for the rookie quarterback? Oh, it's going to be a fun one. That's next. First things first. Don't go anywhere. First things first, we are back here talking Patriots, Dolphins, and a tough day for WBGMC. Wild's baby goat, Mac Jones. Got picked six by Xavier Howard. Lost a fumble as well. Miami never trailed in this one. Fins wins, Pats lose, and in so doing, they fall to the 6th seed. After the game, Mac called his play super embarrassing. Let's expand this sample size to the beginning of December. Not great. Ranks in the 20s in completion percentage, in yards, in touchdown interception ratio, in passer rating. But really, that's it. That's it, though. That includes a 2-pick game versus Buffalo, who, by the way, speaking of Buffalo, the Patriots will go on the road to face the Bills in the wild card round Saturday night. My friend Kevin Wildes, do you have faith in Mac Jones to beat the Bills next weekend? Okay. All right, you're there. You didn't even get through the sentence. That's great. I love it.
So here's the delicate balancing act we've had to do, Jenna. We have a rookie quarterback in Mac Jones, and at the same time, we want to compete and get to the playoffs and recognize that he's going to have a learning curve. And I call him the baby goat. And everyone says, you can't call him the baby goat. You can't compare him. But no one focuses, Broussard, on the baby part. I'm concerned with the baby part. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to fall down. He's going to have some blowouts. Babies have some blowouts, and so does Mac Jones. I'm expecting a steep learning curve with Mac Jones, and we did both. Mac Jones is going to have to feel what it's like to throw an interception, feel what it's like to be down big and try to engineer a comeback. The fact that we were able to do both, that we were able to get Mac Jones in there, have him start 17 games, and get to the playoffs is the bar that I wanted to get over, and we achieved it. And before everyone attacks me, how did all the other rookie quarterbacks do? Well, Trevor Lawrence, he played great. Didn't he play great against the Colts? Things are looking up for him. How about Zach Wilson? Oh, they hung with the Bills for a while. Things are looking up for him. Oh, Justin Fields, he showed some life. He's looking good. How about Trey Lance? Yeah, he won a game. He's looking good. So the question to me, Broussard, is this. Is the real issue here is not that Mac Jones isn't good enough. Is the problem that Mac Jones is actually too good? That Mac Jones is too good because we compare him to all the other playoff quarterbacks.
Can I answer that question?
We don't compare him to rookies anymore. No one compares him to rookies. Oh, he's not as good as Mahomes.
Yeah, I'll compare him to a rookie.
Josh Allen. Like, yeah.
He's
not as good as Davis Mills.
Compare him to the rookies.
You guys
That's
be
what
better
he
off
is.
with Davis Mills. Yeah, Davis Mills. You'd
outta
rather
here.
have Davis Mills.
No, that's not even
and that's
worth
the
my-
guy you were going to draft if he wasn't there. What?
No.
Why?
That's because you love the guy's
Why?
neck.
Davis
That's it.
Mills for the last 2
Davis
months
Mills
of the
is not as
season
good as Mac
has
Jones.
been better.
In garbage time for the Texans?
Absolutely. What, in garbage time? I don't know what you're talking about. Like, the Davis Mills is better.
They played well
The
he played
Patriots
well yesterday.
would trade Mac Jones straight up right now for Trevor Lawrence in a heartbeat, for Justin Fields in a heartbeat, for Trey Lance in a heartbeat, maybe Zach Wilson, I don't know. And I think Davis Mills is better. But the problem is not about Mac Jones versus the other playoff quarterbacks. The problem is Kevin Wildes versus himself. That's the problem. Because you are the one that put Mac Jones and others of your ilk, to use a Broussard word, on this pedestal. Oh, he's going to be the offensive rookie of the year. The Patriots dynasty just took a gap year. We're going to win the division. Nobody wants to deal with us. None of it's true. He stinks. He's, ever since Belichick emasculated him on national television, he's been awful, except for one game against the Jags. He's been terrible. He's playing his worst football at his worst time of the year, when all the other rookie quarterbacks are showing growth because they were allowed to make mistakes early. The guy who had his parents feeding him the food, remember that analogy? Ordering off the kids menu, we'll cut it up for you. All of a sudden, he's 9 years old, doesn't know how to use a knife, and is dribbling all over himself. And all the other kids are like, well, that's embarrassing. Can't invite him to the birthday party. There's no defending it. You guys lost to Tua and the Dolphins. Tua threw for 107 yards and lost because your quarterback was terrible. In a game, Broussard, by the way, they can't be like, well, it was meaningless. It ended up being meaningless, but Wilde's upset alert almost came in. The Jets were down 13-10 in the fourth quarter against the Bills. If the Jets had pulled that game off, this was for the division. And you let the Dolphins crush you. That's because your quarterback's no good. I know bad quarterbacks. That's a bad quarterback.
All right, let me step in again, wise elder here. You both made some strong points, but as Wild used to say to me, Nick, a little more honey, a little less vinegar. All right. Wild, that was a good, you're in a tough position. You're in a really tough position, all right, to defend Mac Jones winning a playoff game. And you did a good job because you were right. Mac Jones, Nick, was the best rookie quarterback this season. Don't sit here and Trevor Lawrence, yeah, he looked good yesterday. That was one of the few times this season. Justin Fields, we don't know what he is. We'll see what he is. Trey Lance, we'll see what he is. We saw that Mac Jones could get it done on a high level. He deserves some credit for getting them to the playoffs. He does. And he was, with all due respect to Davis Mills, who was all right. He was the best rookie quarterback and may have been offensive rookie of the year, word now for Jamar Chase. All right, will certainly be in the conversation. All right, but here's the problem. To answer the question, I don't have faith in him winning this playoff game. This won't be the year that a rookie quarterback leads a team to the Super Bowl. All right, he is, as Nick pointed out, and this was your good point, Nick, he's struggling now. And I'm starting to like what you said, as I said last week, about Belichick with the 3 passes against Buffalo. He has not been the same since. It seems like it did get into his mind and mess with his psyche. Hasn't been the same. And against Buffalo, who the team that he only threw 3 passes against, he's 16 for 35 in the 2 games, obviously below 50%. 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, 164 yards. All right, will Belichick work some magic? Will the run game be crazy? Maybe. But I'm certainly betting on the Bills to win this one. And Mac had a nice season, as you pointed out, Wilds. I'm not going to kill him because he didn't lead him to a playoff victory.
Yeah, but here's where
the game hasn't been played yet.
That's fine. But Wilds, the
Saturday
problem
night.
is you, and not just you, others that I had to listen to this insanity across sports television. It was A block, Carson Wentz is dangerous. B block, the Patriots are back. It was all just craziness. I just don't think people are watching the games. You guys all moved the goalposts. The Pats were the 1 seed. And then your quarterback melted down the final month of the year. Now you're the 6th seed? And you're on the road in Buffalo. That's what happened. You guys can't say, oh, he's a baby, when the comp was, how many times did I have to look at Brady's first year starting compared to Mac Jones and watch Brady highlights and say, oh, the Patriots. The reason Broussard Wilds had to keep saying, I don't think a rookie's going to win the Super Bowl is because we were discussing, can they win the Super Bowl? Now, I do have some good news here for you, Wilds. You and me this week, buddy. We're on the same side. I'm a big Pats fan this week. Go ahead and you guys take care of the Bills for me. I got no interest in roller coaster Josh Allen.
Well, then change your tune.
Might be up at a peak.
No.
No. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I am a big Pats fan this week. Me and Sully and all the folks with fish in their avatars on Twitter.
Time out. Okay. Your audio is a little bit funky right now, and that seems like a technical glitch. It is not. It is a request that I put in to Fox Broadcast Central. I said, please, if he starts talking about rooting for the Patriots, cut his mic. So thank you, everyone in the executive offices.
They did you one better. I just messed it up.
Here's the question, Jenna. Do I think that Mac Jones can, orchestrate 1 offensive touchdown per game in the playoffs? Yeah, I think that's a fair thing to do, that hopefully he can orchestrate just 1 offensive touchdown, just like Tom Brady did in his first Super Bowl run. Never had a 2 offensive touchdown game. We never did. Oh, we got some special teams. Oh, we got some defensive touchdowns. Never did. 1 offensive touchdown all the way to the confetti drop. So, just saying, doesn't need to do too much. Team sport. Belichick's out there. Josh McDaniels got to cook up a little something. Matthew Slater, see something.
Kevin Wilds says too much focus on the GOAT, not enough focus on the baby. Got to factor them both in. Hey, one team that isn't going up against anybody, the Colts. They are packing bags. We discussed their embarrassing loss to the Jaguars. It was embarrassing. I could say that. They said that. Mike Vick joins us next to discuss first things first. We got Mike Vick back with us now. Time to run the No Huddle. Washington versus the Giants yesterday. Well, this was an interesting strategy from Big Blue. Going for the QB sneak on 3rd and 9 from their own 4. I said sarcastically, as in 9 yards needed for the first down, and they call a QB sneak. Joe Judge was looking for job security. I'm not sure that was the right move. Judge did say afterwards, we were backed up. I wanted to get room for the punter. It's one way to look at it. That fan's got another way to look at it. Jay Glazer had this afterwards. I believe Giants brass is torn on what to do with Joe Judge because of the revolving door of coaches they've had in recent years. They have hesitation to move on because they'd add to that revolving door. At the same time, I've heard a ton of frustration inside that locker room. Not a little, a lot. Report from Jay Glazer. Hey, Kevin Wilds, what'd you make of the play call?
Well, Jenna, There's a scene in Game of Thrones when Hodor is holding back the entire army, and that has been me for the last 2 years, trying to hold off the Joe Judge critics with all my power. And that final 3rd and 9 quarterback sneak, that might have been it for my tenure. I've gone out like a champion, Joe Judge. I've tried my best, my friend. I said that there was no flaw in your decision making that a few laps couldn't solve, but unfortunately, this might be it. He came into this year, Mike, he came into his tenure, excuse me, it's been a few years. We're gonna put a product on the field that the people, the city and region are gonna be proud of. Well, multiple people showed up with bags on their head. One guy had a bag on his head and an empty Pepsi can. And then he also said this, Mike.
No pride.
We'll play every play like it has a history and a life of its own, or not. Or we're going to start thinking about punting on 2nd down and 3rd down and finally punting. Mike, I've been refreshing my Twitter feed to see if Joe Judge news of his firing has popped up. It hasn't. Do you think Joe Judge can survive this play being the cherry on top of a bad season Sunday?
No, not at all. And when you know, you know. And I think Joe Judge know that his time has come. He was trying to win that game yesterday, and whatever was going through his mind in terms of what needed to happen, that thought popped up on that 3rd and 9 to run that sneak. Whatever the philosophy was to get the punter more room, that was his philosophy. And, obviously it didn't work out. It was a hell of a way to go out for Joe Judge, I'll say that, but I don't expect the Giants to retain him. I think they gotta move on and go in a different direction. It's a hell of a way to go out.
That's as mean as Mike Vick gets, by the way, America. Vic is so nice, Broussard. That's as cutting as Vic's commentary.
I'm cutting him some slack, too.
Hell of a way to go out.
It's a hell of a way to go out.
Well, Mike, I thought it was an indictment on Joe Judge himself, because in week 18 of your 2nd season, you have not taught and coached your players well enough to have faith. I don't care if they were backups, to have faith in them that they could execute a play and get off the goal line. I mean, that to me is an indictment on him. And I want to throw this back at you, Mike, really quickly. If you were in that locker room, would you lose faith in your coach? Would you be upset with him? Would you lose all faith in him? Or would it not be a big deal to you?
Now you lose faith, man, because you question the decisions that the coach makes sometimes, and as a player, you try to figure out why was that decision made. So, when you're trying to figure that out on the spot, it can be very difficult. But when you step back and look at it, I think everybody in totality probably look at it like, he gave up on us. So when that happens, it's reciprocated. Right. The feelings are mutual. Feelings are mutual for sure.
Yeah, listen, everyone seems to I shouldn't say everyone, but people are trying to be nice, like feel badly somewhat for the guy. I think it's in play he wants to be fired. That he knows he can't win. He knows that he's, out over his skis. The media is crushing him on a daily basis, and that he doesn't want to be there anymore. And you might say, Nick, that's ridiculous. Well, the only other explanation is that he's one of, if not the worst coach I've ever seen. We only showed one of the quarterback sneaks. They ran a sneak on 2nd down. They then ran a sneak on 3rd down. And then when he was asked about it after the game, he was like, we achieved exactly what we wanted to achieve. Meaning he had decided after a false start on 2nd and 10 that made it 2nd and 12 that, this drive is over. 12 yards in 2 plays? We can't do that. Wild. So either he had to know he was going to get crushed for this. So either he wanted to get fired or he doesn't know what he's doing. Either way, what's the line in casino? Either you're in on it or you're too stupid to know. Either way, you gotta go.
for the last time, Jenna.
Go Wilds.
Nick Wright. Lap it up, buddy! Lap it up for that take. We don't like that type of take. Lap it up!
All right, let's talk some Patriots Dolphins. Your team, Kevin Wilds. Tough day for WBGMC. You know what that is. Wilds, baby goat, Mac Jones. WBGMC got picked 6 by Xavier Howard. He lost a fumble, too. Miami never trailed in this one. Dolphins win, Patriots lose, and in so doing, they fall to the 6th seed after the game. Mac Jones called his play yesterday super embarrassing. Well, let's expand the sample size to Mac's month of December. Wasn't great. Among the bottom 10 in completion since the beginning of December, bottom 10 in completion yards, percentage, touchdown interception ratio, passer rating. You see it all there. Really, that's it, though. Really, just those things. Which includes a 2-pick game versus Buffalo, who the Patriots will go on the road to face in the wild card round. That game's on Saturday night. Mike Vick, do you have faith in Mac Jones to beat the Bills next weekend?
I got faith in Mac. I got faith in Mac and everybody around
Thank
him.
you, Mike.
You know, it's 0-0 now. It's a new season. It's new game plans. It's new configurations within the offense and the defense. So I do think he got an opportunity to go out and show us and show everybody that the month of December really wasn't what it was. He can be a lot better come postseason. He still got the team around him, and I think it's all about matchups when it comes into the postseason. So, you know, Mac Jones just got to get himself together, regather himself, and figure out what's next and how to get a win versus the Buffalo Bills, because they did it on the road a couple weeks ago. That don't mean they can't duplicate it.
Thank you, Mike. That made me feel better about myself and the Patriots' hopes. Here's the thing about the baby goat. Do we want to compare him to Patrick Mahomes? Do we want to compare him to Tom Brady? Well, yeah, Wilds, you do. You call him the baby goat. Yeah. But let's key in on the word baby. Babies make mistakes. Babies have to learn and fall down a few times. And that's what we're seeing with Mac Jones. And I know there's people out there, Nick Wright, who say, oh, you know what? The Patriots should have done what? Operated like Trevor Lawrence or Davis Mills or Justin Fields or Zach Wilson, who are all sitting at home? No. Bill Belichick did a masterful job of doing 2 things. 1, getting the Patriots to the playoffs. And 2,
That part's
letting
true.
Mac Jones experiment enough. And then, what do you know? Do you think
But
that
he didn't
Mac
grow
Jones,
him.
Nicholas, be honest. Yes, he did. We're in the playoffs. How could what?
But
how
he-
can
no,
you
the
say that he
team- Wilds.
didn't give him an opportunity to grow? We are in the
No.
playoffs. Do you think playoff
And he's
experience
unlike
is
the
important?
other quarterbacks. Unlike the other quarterbacks, he is playing his worst football at the end of the year instead of his best. And he has not been the best rookie
Trevor
quarterback.
Lawrence-
Davis Mills.
Did Trevor Lawrence play great last week?
Listen,
Did Trevor Lawrence
it's
play
not-
great last?
It's
He had
not
one
even
good game.
fair. It's not even fair to compare him to Trevor Lawrence, who's going to be a star in this league. Let's compare him to the guy that reportedly the Patriots were going to take if they didn't draft Mac Jones, if Mac Jones wasn't there. Compare him to Davis Mills. This is since Halloween, buddy. Davis Mills has been better. And so I just want to ask Mike a quick question here. Mike, just quickly. Because Mac Jones's meltdown of the Patriots going from the 1 seed to the 6 seed and Mac Jones playing terribly coincides directly with their last trip to Buffalo when Belichick only let him throw 3 passes. Do you think it's in play that affected Mac Jones' mentality, shook his confidence, and that has led to his worst month of football being the month since then?
No, that's not the answer, Nick. I think, being a rookie, you're going against a lot of experienced D coordinators and guys who know defense. And obviously Brian Flores is one of those guys yesterday. They're going to throw a lot of different looks at you, and they confuse some of the best quarterbacks. So you're talking about a guy who's a rookie who haven't seen a ton of different looks, and then you got different personnel, different offenses, different concepts coming in each and every week. So you got to send versus defenses, different defenses know how to execute them. And I just think Mac Jones got caught up in that. It happens to every rookie. You ask any rookie quarterback, did they struggle at certain times versus certain defenses? of versus D coordinators, and they'll tell you, hell yeah.
And Nick, look, Mac Jones has been the best rookie quarterback. You can throw up those numbers for Davis Mills all you want, but Mike said it earlier. It's easier to play when you have nothing to lose. That team is horrible. Every single game the Texans went into, everybody thought they were going to lose. So anything you gave them was gravy. So that's what Mac Jones was, or Davis Mills, that's the atmosphere he was playing in. Mac Jones, on the other hand, come December,
much harder to play
everybody's thinking, oh, not only are they going to make the playoffs, but they got a shot. They got a shot to get to the Super Bowl. And I'm with you in that he's struggled in December and he hasn't played well of late. And Mike mentioned matchups. Well, he hadn't matched up well against Buffalo, that's for sure. Because even the other game in which he did throw the football 30 times, he didn't complete 50% of his passes against the Bills and had 2 interceptions. So I don't think it's a good matchup from him. I don't expect him to lead them to victory. Could Belichick work some magic? Possibly. But I don't have the faith in the rookie Mac Jones to lead them over the Buffalo Bills. And Wilds, you're right. Baby, go. I don't call him that. You do. But baby, I don't trust. When my daughters were babies, I didn't trust them to drive the car. And I don't trust Mac to drive the car into a playoff victory over Buffalo. But he had a good year.
No car driving, and we don't put them in corners. And that's all I have to say about babies. On to the NBA, because this block by Ja was absolutely filthy. But was it the most wonderful play of the weekend? First things first. You got the corners, sir? All right, now for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve, and a wild one in Vegas. Raiders, Chargers, Vegas driving in overtime. Now at this point, both teams would get into the playoffs with a tie. Chargers head coach Brandon Staley calls an odd timeout before the third down play. Look what Justin Herbert said right there. I never wanted a tie so bad. Raiders not playing for a tie. They were playing to win the game. Came out of the timeout trying to win the game. Josh Jacobs had a 10-yard run, and then Vegas kicker Daniel Carson right there nailing the 47-yarder. Thank you, Brandon Staley. Raiders in, Steelers in, Chargers are out. The final game of the regular season turning out to be the game of the year, guys. Broussard, I'll start with you. Did Brandon Staley cost the Chargers a postseason berth?
Yes. All right. Yes, he did. And look, I'm going with my gut feeling on this. And I say that purposely, gut feeling, because Brandon Staley needs to start learning how to go with his gut feeling and not just the math. All right. This isn't trigonometry class. This is football. All right. Sometimes you got to go with your gut. And here's what I'm saying, Nick. My gut tells me, because Rich Bisaccio, the coach for the Raiders, said that we had talked about on the sidelines playing for the tie. Okay, I look at that like retirement. Once you talk about retirement, once you consider it, you've retired, because you won't have the energy, the adrenaline, the resolve that you had before you ever thought about that. And that's what I was seeing in the Raiders. I was seeing that they're letting the clock go down. They're like, look, we didn't cheat the game. We played to win. And it turns out this is going to end up likely as a tie. And then when Staley called that timeout, I thought it awoke the Raiders to what? Oh, he's still trying to win this game. Oh, he's got another timeout left after this. So we can't just run out the clock. He's going to try to stop it, get the ball back, and work some miracle to win this game. And I think that awoke the Raiders and gave them an energy boost, because, Nick, I don't think Josh Jacobs would have run for 10 yards. I don't think he was going to run for 10 yards had they not called the timeout.
They were going to run?
Be wrong. But I think he would have got 3 or 4.
But do you think they were going to take a knee? Because they were clearly going to. This is the
No,
part
they were
I don't
going to run the
understand.
football.
Right? They were going to run a play.
They were going to run the football,
Staley
but I think after they got stopped, once they gained the 10 yards, it's like, oh, wow, we got a much easier field goal.
But they were
Let's
always
kick
going
it
to
and
try
win
to.
it. Plus, they.
Wait, hold on.
I don't know that they would have kicked the 50-something yarder.
Oh, I agree. I agree. There was a limit that they wouldn't have kicked the field goal. I agree with that. But my point is they weren't taking a knee. They were going to run the ball. If they're going to run the ball, they're going to try to gain as many yards as you can gain. If you're just taking the tie, you would have taken the knee. So Staley thought they were in the wrong defense to stop the run. Now, it turns out the Chargers have no defense to stop the run. They've been terrible against the run all year. They were terrible against the run yesterday. Josh Jacobs went into that game averaging 52 yards a game. He had 132. He had 92 in the fourth quarter in overtime. So, like, they couldn't stop the run, and that's why they lost. But Wilds, Broussard alluded to it. The reason this timeout is controversial is because the timeout is a stalking horse for what people really want, which is to be able to criticize the math guy. They just want to be able to criticize Brandon Staley. And they didn't like his fourth down attempt early in the game. Not the one that led to a touchdown. That one was fine.
Sure didn't.
And he actually kicked the extra point rather than going for two. And they're like, damn, I thought I was going to be able to criticize that. And so now a timeout with 3 on the play clock that, in my opinion, had no real impact on the game one way or the other. We don't know. Maybe he would have run for a touchdown. Maybe he would have been stopped. We know the Raiders were going to run a real play. They weren't in shotgun to take a knee. We know that. That we're like, oh, now we can attack him. Oh, boy, genius. Well, yeah, what makes you such a genius, old nerdy McNerderson? You know, back when men were men, we understood a kick is not a bad play. He thinks he's too smart. And you take the point.
He's smarter
That's
than
all
everybody
this
else.
is. See,
That's
Wilds?
right.
That's all it is.
It's true. That's the way
People hate him.
Guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. I want to root for Derek Carr, and I'll be honest with you, Broussard, I want to root against Brandon Staley. Derek Carr started this year, don't forget, it didn't start with John Gruden getting fired. The sort of drama around the Raiders started when Russell Wilson said, I'd like to go to the Raiders. And Derek Carr's like, hold on, that's my job.
Right.
He went through that. He went through the John Gruden stuff. He showed a really grace towards Henry Ruggs, and he has filled the leadership vacuum on that team. And I'm very happy for him. On the flip side, Brandon Staley, when after they played the Chiefs, said, you know what, real football people know what I'm doing. There's just something about him wanting not only to play smart football, Broussard, but letting everyone know he's playing smart football. Belichick plays smart football. A lot of guys play smart football. He just wants you to know, I want to be, my brand is going to be the smart guy. I want to be the genius.
But let
and
me
I think
help
that's
you
a little
then
off-putting,
quickly.
and I think people are rooting for the Chargers to be gone.
That's fine, but let me just help you quickly, Broussard and Wilds. If you want to attack him, he was the Rams D coordinator. He's a defensive guy. Their run defense is terrible. They lost because they couldn't stop the run. You want to attack them? They were 8-5 with a touchdown lead against Kansas City with 2 minutes left to take the lead in the division. After that, they lost that game. They lost to the Texans, and now they lost to the Raiders. They lost 3 of 4 to end the year. There's plenty of things to criticize him for, but you guys just don't like his aggressiveness on fourth downs, which, by the way, they were great on fourth down yesterday. They picked up a 4th and 2 early when you guys would have taken the points. Take the points.
Nick.
He maybe should have been more aggressive. Should have gone for 2. Win the game.
That's where you go too far. Remember I said gut, my man, gut feeling. Now 4th and 2 from the Raiders 19 is a lot different than 4th and 2 from my own 18-yard line. It cost them 3 points.
Because one worked,
it was in the third quarter, so I won't say definitively it cost them the game, but it could have. Maybe if they don't get those 3 points, it's a different ball game. So come on, man. Staley, he thinks he's too smart for his own good.
We all ended on the same page.
Stop playing Madden.
Undisputed right
NFL.
now.